Well, hello and welcome to everybody joining us here today. I'm Rebecca Radice, and this is the latest episode in the Post Planner Bootcamp webinar series. And typically, I am joined by the CEO, Josh Parkinson, but we kind of gave him the boot today because we have a very special guest here with us, and we're going to change things up just a little bit as well and let our amazing guest do a lot of the talking. So I am joined, if you don't recognize her, by Peg Fitzpatrick. She is a co-author of The Art of Social Media and a total social media dynamo. If you are not connected to her on social media, I think you're like one of the few people that aren't at this point, Peg.
I don't know about that, Rebecca. They all follow you.
Right. Yeah. So your numbers blow me away every single time we talk about them. You have, just by yourself, 1.3 million followers. And then across social media, so you work with Guy Kawasaki, and you are managing a total of, tell me again that number, 13 million, is that right?
I think it's 13 million followers, like across everything, except for probably Snapchat. I mean, I'm on Snapchat, but I don't count myself as being like good at that whatsoever.
Yeah, well, I know somebody asked me the other day, are you on Snapchat? And I joked, I said, well, if you mean by on that I've got an account there, yes, absolutely. If you mean active, no.
Yeah. We can work on Snapchat when we're at Social Media Marketing World.
Ooh, okay, there's our goal. Yeah.
I actually do know how to use it. I just don't. I forget about it all the time.
Yeah, you and me both. It is so hard to remember where to be all the time, and that's a lot of what we're going to talk about here today. And I don't say your numbers to overwhelm people, but obviously those are enormous credibility. And you know what you're doing. You've been doing this for quite some time, and what we're talking about today is how small businesses can use social media to really extend their brand, to get their presence out there in front of a whole lot more people and build a business across social media. And I know that we get a lot of those questions of, where do I begin? Where do I even get started? How do I know what to talk about? How do I know where to find my audience? And that is so much of what you have done for yourself, obviously for so many other businesses, Audi off the top of my head, and a lot of big brands. And what I love about everything that you do is, yeah, sure, it may be at a big brand level, but you take all of that and you transition that into, hey, small businesses, here's how you can actually use this within your business, on your blog, across social media. So you're sharing all of your knowledge, but in a way that I think is very doable for so many small businesses and entrepreneurs.
I think it's doable too, and that's kind of why I like to say my numbers, just because it's like I have almost as many followers now as the amount of people that are in my state. I'm in New Hampshire, which is a really small state. I think we have like 1.5 million people. And so I like to say that social media and the internet really is an equalizer for people. Whether you're a person in New Hampshire or Los Angeles or New York City, people, it honestly doesn't matter online. Sure, if you're going to go to networking events, you're going to have way more in Los Angeles and New York than maybe you would in New Hampshire. But when you do a Twitter chat, we're all in exactly the same spot. So taking the tricks and tips from the big, huge brands is something that small businesses can definitely do, especially just like breaking down the things that they do. That's it's kind of like, I hate stealing ideas because I don't like that at all, but you can like borrow from the greats and get inspiration from big marketing campaigns where they do have millions and millions of dollars to spend, and then spin that around for your their own business in a way that's affordable or in your budget range. And I like to do everything practically free. So mine is like bootstrapping budget girl, because I'm just like, that's how it is, right? I mean, when
Yeah.
you're independent, you have to do things as low budget as you can, and that's how it is for small businesses. They don't have a lot of extra time, and they don't have a lot of extra money, but if they're not on social media, they are losing business.
Yeah. Well, and I love that you said that about bootstrap, because that's always a question, right? It's, well,
Yeah.
I don't have the big budget. I don't
Right.
have what a brand has.
Right.
And you make it abundantly clear in everything that you talk about that you don't need to. You have built your following almost 100% organically, and I don't think we've ever had that conversation, but I would be willing to bet that that's the case.
Yeah.
It's just based on what I know.
Yeah, it's just showing up every day and working hard. That's how I've built my following. And I'm very, very lucky that this, Google Plus in particular, recognize that I worked really hard on their platform, and I have been on their suggested users list. Not because I'm a big name or a famous person, but because I showed up and worked really hard, and I worked hard to teach other people how to use Google Plus. I mean, they don't send you a thing saying, hey, we've recognized you for this, but I'm assuming that's why they chose me to be on there, and so that did help my social platform grow. And then, I've always been somebody who connects with brands. Like I connected with Post Planner, with Sprout Social, with other companies, and they share my content because I support them. Reciprocity doesn't have to come from, it's reciprocity. It's not paid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not to say that you don't, at this point, sadly, have to invest a little bit of money on Facebook, which we might get into that, but it's a very small amount. It's totally doable for small businesses.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and your blog is just a wealth of information, total gold mine for anybody that's looking to really increase their visibility. And I know you kind of touched on Google Plus, but yeah, we'll talk about everywhere that you are spending your time and where you've invested. And I thought we'd talk through one of your blog posts. You had, like I said, I keep referring back to your blog because that's so much of where you and I connected was, with the blogging, and we had a very similar focus in who our audience was and what we were talking about, and just really being able to share everything that you're doing on a day-to-day basis.
And our struggle to try to do well on Facebook, even though just because Facebook is a challenge. I think that's what our blogs definitely, but like social media is hard. It's not like we can snap and automatically transfer all of our knowledge. Rebecca and I both work every day to learn everything and stay at the top of the game. So that's one reason it's great to read people's blogs that do write about social media, that are really immersed in it, because some people write about it and they're just kind of grabbing pieces and ideas from other people. But I actually work with B2B companies. I work with B2C. I'm independent. I have a different perspective, which is very similar to yours, Rebecca, because I've been on like all sides of social media. I've worked with agencies with big clients. I've worked on my own. I typically do all my stuff on my own. But I've worked with all these different aspects, so I'm always thinking about, Facebook for this, Facebook for that, and that's the kind of blogs that you really want to find, and people that you want to follow are people who are actively working in social media, actively working with Facebook for business. It's so different than being good at Facebook. Like, we can all post pictures of our dogs and our vacations on Facebook. Like that's fun, and that's great when people respond to that, but it's 100% different when you're managing a Facebook page for a brand or a small business.
So true. So let's start from the top. We're going to talk about 7 ways that small businesses can use social media, and I talked a little bit about credibility and just sharing your numbers, but I think that's a great place for small businesses to start? Because you talked about building connections, about that reciprocity, and it really all starts with building a credible presence for
Right.
yourself. So maybe give businesses an idea as to how do you go about doing that? How do you build credibility and authority within your space?
Okay, so I'm going to use a really great example that I've talked to you about a little bit, and I will write about it, and I'll write a follow-up thing because the blog post I wrote I love, but I've been working with my hairdresser actually in helping her with her social media. And as I mentioned, I live in New Hampshire in a little town, and she is a small business owner. She has a great business. She's booked all the time, but she understands that she needs to be on social media to connect with more people and get brand awareness for her small business. So I've been working with her a little bit on doing that, and here's the number one big misconception. You don't have to have a huge following as a local business. You just need to connect with the right local people. So don't think of it as overwhelming, like, oh my God, I need to build big social media numbers. You don't need to build big social media numbers. You just need to connect locally. So for brand awareness, the first thing is just to get your brand developed. Come up with most small business owners are very passionate people, and they live and breathe their company. So they know who they are. They know what their company does. So knowing those things, you need to create a digital presence, which is then finding someone that you can work with to create graphics and design that match who you are. So you want to have a logo, you want to have, all your Facebook designs and all of those things, and most small businesses have those for offline things. So it's kind of just translating that online. So people are going to recognize who you are and have just a beautiful social media presence. And it's not complicated, and it doesn't have to cost a ton of money. You can find people to work with independently, or if you have some skills, there are places that you could figure out how to do it yourself. If you are a small business, though, I would recommend trying to find somebody who can create your designs for you, just because you want to make sure they are super professional. And like I said, you can find things that are not really, you can find people who are in your budget. Regardless of what your budget is, I think today you can find someone. Don't you think so, Rebecca? Like,
Oh my.
regardless of your budget, you can find it. So don't feel like I can't, like you have to do every piece of what we talk about yourself, because part of the key is to figure out the things you can do yourself and the things that you might need to get help with. And I would say that the design is probably a place that you might want to spend. If you have a small budget, spend it there.
Yeah,
And
I would
get
agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you really want things to look amazing. So I actually did. Betsy is my my stylist, so we're just using Betsy as our small business example because I think it helps when you have someone to relate to, right? Like
Hmm.
it's not just a random small business. She actually has, done small changes that have made huge impact. So the first thing what we did was she decided she was going to have like a little event and do a little, girls' night out, and so she just did some very simple stuff to get the word out. She created a Facebook cover. She, meaning I helped her, create a Facebook cover because there are pieces that you do have to learn. And she did a Facebook post for it and an Instagram post. And from those three things with zero budget, she filled her whole event, her whole live event.
Wow. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, and people loved it. Loved it. They were so excited about it. And she's having another one soon. And she posted and she had like 46 likes and it was like in the comments, I think her event was full already for her next one.
Wow, that's amazing. No, and I
So,
love that you're using her story because it's been
yeah,
so cute to watch. You've, talked about it and posted pictures and just,
yeah.
shared her story. So yeah, I think it's
It's
terrific.
really small things though. I think people get overwhelmed thinking that they need to do, a huge thing and they can't get started. So I
Right.
think sometimes people don't get started. She had a Facebook page already. She wasn't sure how to manage it. So with a little bit of help, she updated her cover photo. I helped her do some other things like I'm not sure if I go into this, but one of the most important things is to make sure that your Facebook business page is set up properly. That is a little bit challenging, but it's not so hard that you can't do it. But you do want to make sure that your geotagging is set up and that you have your business set up with your location and all of those things, because then people can check into your location properly. Facebook check-in is huge for your business.
Yes,
It's practically, it's free advertising, free word of mouth to all of Facebook's people that that are friends with them. So that was another thing that helped Betsy with, was setting up her Facebook page so people could log in. And then the next little step from that was you can make an offer to people. If you check in, you can get $5 off your haircut, or just you can add some kind of bonus, any kind of little incentive, or even just invite people to do it. So Betsy has a little sign now on her counter, which matches her cute little salon. It's like a little frame, and it says like, check in and get a discount on your next service. And so if somebody checks in, that goes to all of their Facebook friends, and most of those people would be local on
there
your
you go.
Facebook page. So that's like a little broadcast of Peggy loves to get her hair done at this salon. And how easy is that? That's 2 little steps that you have to take. Set your Facebook page up properly and make a little sign somewhere in your shop that says check in.
Yeah, it's brilliant. We have a yogurt place here. I don't know if you guys have Yogurtland, but they do that when you're paying for your frozen yogurt. There is a sign right behind them that says, like us on Facebook, check in, and you get X amount whatever off. And then they also give, on top of that, you're added to their list, and now you get freebies and all kinds of stuff that you wouldn't get otherwise. So yeah, it's brilliant. It's using Facebook, getting you out there in the news feed of your friends, and really getting you in front of a local crowd.
And it's fun. You're standing there in line, you're waiting for your frozen yogurt, you love them because it's a place that you go all the time. You're happy number one, you're happy as a happy customer to help the business succeed. And number 2, everybody is standing in line with their phones. Why? Getting into the hands of your customers is key for small businesses right now. And it's as easy as free sprinkles on your frozen yogurt when you check in.
And that's such another great point. It does not have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be convoluted. It can be very simple, and it doesn't have to be expensive either. Where you consider, I'm giving away, X amount of dollars. Think simplicity, because you're right. We, first of all, are already fans because we're there. And second of all, who doesn't like to be thanked for your enthusiasm, for helping spread the word or spread the message. So yeah, I think it's great advice to remember. Keep it simple. And just do it.
And I think the last number I saw was that the average person on Facebook has 100 Facebook friends. So look at that, it is automatically reaching 100 people.
Most definitely.
And those are the kind of posts that really are engaging on Facebook. It's better than a Facebook promoted, boosted post, because it's an organic post for you saying that you like this frozen yogurt shop, from me saying this is the salon that I go to. And it's just, it's the perfect word of mouth. And it's not pushy at all. I mean, people can ignore it or they can do it. It's like so low key and so awesome.
Exactly. Well, and this has kind of taken us into the second point we were going to talk about, which is how can small businesses really and truly use social media to attract potential clients. And we're talking a little bit about Facebook, but maybe offer some very tactical ways that small businesses can use Facebook, Twitter. You're an enormous fan of Pinterest, obviously, to attract the exact right people rather than casting that wider net and just attracting a whole bunch of people that may or may not be interested in them.
Right. And I think the key to that is geotags, geo-targeting. I think that using hashtags and connecting locally is key for small businesses. Pinterest, I think, is harder for small businesses unless you're going to do something where people can get your products and services by mail. It's a little bit, Pinterest, as much as it kills me to say, may not be your perfect platform for this. Instagram, on the other hand, totally perfect. So another example for that is, so you use Instagram for your business and you use your local hashtags. You use hashtag Los Angeles, you use frozen yogurt, you use, or, if you're Betsy, you're geotagging your shop so more people see it. And I just saw a stat recently that 23% of posts from Instagram to Facebook, posts from Instagram to Facebook get 23% more engagement and overall activity than posts that are just posted on Facebook. I don't know why, but
isn't that interesting?
Giving them a little boost.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you posted this picture of, your customer of the day with their brand new hairstyle on Instagram, you could automatically share that to Facebook, and let's use the ice cream analogy, you're double dipping because you're getting engagement on Instagram and on Facebook. So it's really small things that can really help you connect with the right people. Hashtags are definitely the way to do it on Instagram and Twitter. Facebook, I just am not convinced 100% that hashtags help at all. But geotagging, everything helps. When you're posting on Facebook, post your location. Invite people to post a location when they post. And then, and the same on Instagram. Just definitely, tag your location wherever you are and tag other people. Those are the things that help you connect, and they're seen by more people. Even if you don't know who they are, they might be in the area. And on Facebook things, I just saw a really cool thing the other day where I was in a location. It was like, do you want to see what's going on in the area? And it pulled up all the local things in my area. So Facebook is working. Cool. Have you seen that feature yet?
I have, and it kind of blew my mind. The first time I saw it, I was like, whoa, where did that come from? But yeah, it's super cool.
Yeah, so I wouldn't necessarily say hashtags on Facebook, but definitely adding the location for your business on every post helps way more people see it. So those kind of tricks and the things that connect you directly to your local people is where small businesses are really going to start connecting. And then, it's word of mouth, word of mouth, word of mouth. So
that's allowing that to spread with that word of mouth thing. I would tell you that it's not just for local businesses, that it's super smart to use the geotagging and the hashtags, especially on Instagram, but anybody, because I wasn't using local hashtags all that often up until, I don't know, maybe the last 6 months or so. And all of a sudden, my following, especially on Instagram, I see is LA, 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 LA. So I'm really making connections, which even though I'm not just a local business, is awesome. Who doesn't want to build better connections in your community that could turn into opportunities who knows where? So I just think it's smart no matter what type of business that you are, and I think it's very overlooked across all platforms in the geotagging and just identifying where you're at. Especially if you travel a lot like you do. I think people love to live vicariously through that, and they enjoy going along on your journey and being able to see where you are and what you're doing, and it is fun.
Yeah, it is. But connecting with the hashtag, so another little quick Betsy story. So on Instagram, she uses the hashtags and she geotags, and she was contacted recently by our local paper to be featured in their wedding section. So every year they do a special insert that's all about weddings. And of course, if you're in hair, weddings are huge, booking clients for weddings. Yeah. So instead of having to buy advertising, she got a huge feature in the wedding guide, and they found her on Instagram.
Wow. Yeah. Well, there you go. And that's huge.
People always think there's no benefit. You can't show the ROI from social media, but you can. People tell you that she asked the reporter, how did you find me? And they said, oh, we found you on Instagram.
Yeah, yeah.
So right there, that saved her a huge amount of money for advertising, and she got the best that there was in the whole guide because interviewed. It wasn't an ad, but it's the best ad there is, right?
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Well, yeah, and I think that it definitely speaks to probably one of the biggest challenges for small businesses, which is how much time, do I put into social media before I actually start to see something come out of it, uh,
Right.
and how much time should I spend on Facebook or on Twitter or on Instagram, and how do I know where to make those connections? So maybe talk a little
Mhm.
bit about where to begin when you're
Mhm.
starting to make connections with either your, industry, so maybe like-minded business professionals like we've been talking about, or making
Right.
connections with your audience. How did you get started with Betsy on getting her plugged in into different areas beyond what you've already talked about using the
Right.
hashtags, the geotagging? How can you insert yourself into those conversations happening around your or with your target audience?
I think the biggest thing is to figure out first who is your target audience. Like, what age are they? What's their demographic? I know you guys did this with Post Planner, so you have information on this, like how to do this. But it's very crucial to figure out who it is you want to reach. That can tell you where you should be. So if you are somebody who is a hair salon, um, Facebook and Instagram are great. I honestly didn't think Twitter would do that much for Betsy as a local business, but it really depends on who you are and what you do. If you're a real estate agent, we'll use real estate as an example because I think I've seen some real estate agents that are just doing amazing things selling their homes on Instagram and Twitter. Facebook, I think, would be honestly annoying if you were friends with somebody who is a real estate agent and you got too much stuff if you weren't. I think that might be overwhelming on Facebook. There's probably people that do a great job, so I'm not trying to single anybody out there. But for me personally, Instagram would be the place that I would really kill it as a real estate agent because you can show little videos of the house, which you could do on Facebook too. If you have a Facebook page, you could probably do a great job as a real estate agent, but you wouldn't want to move that on your personal page because that would be breaking terms of service and also annoying, I think. So I would say, so where can you reach people locally? You can target them on Twitter with geotagging and on Instagram. So it really depends on who your target audience is, and that tells you which social networks you should choose. It's a little bit tricky maybe, but you can research that easily on Google after you figure out who your target audience is. Is it people locally? What area? What is their age? What kind of things do they like? And then you can use, if you are on Facebook, you can use Facebook ads or Instagram ads because they're connected now. They're married in their little advertising program. You can use geo-targeted ads and reach just the right people on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I've done some really good Twitter ads that did a really great job. You can target just as tightly as you can on Facebook. So I would look at finding out first who your ideal audience is, which social platforms those people are on, so that would be the demographics piece, and then I would do some geo-targeted advertising to really start building the network. It's hard to just post and not get interaction, and I think at this stage in the game, you do need to do a little bit of paid promotion if you're starting out, especially on Facebook. Um, and it's a very small amount. It doesn't have to be a huge amount. It can be $3 to $5. I'm not talking hundreds of dollars. Small amounts can really help you reach people. So don't be afraid to check into the boosted posts or the promoted posts. Instagram, I think the ads look great on Instagram. What do
I
you
do
think?
too. I love them. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
not intrusive at all,
yeah.
in my
I don't,
opinion.
I don't think
Uh,
so either.
no, I like them.
Jeff C., who's actually watching this, just shared an app that he got as an Instagram ad, and we're both like, oh, that's amazing. So he's got two people that loved, and that's because he liked it, he shared it. So it's targeted good. You're reaching the right people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's what it's all about, rather
Hmm.
than spreading yourself out all over the place and
Right.
trying to maintain a presence all over the place. It's really understanding who your target audience is, where are they
Right.
hanging out,
Right.
and then being there consistently. And that is something that you've done from the get-go is not spread yourself out, but really know where you should be spending your time
Hmm.
and then cross promoting between all of those different channels. So you talked a little bit about, maybe sharing from Instagram over to Facebook, but you're active on Google Plus, on Pinterest, on Twitter. How can small businesses leverage all the different social networks that they're on
Hmm.
to get their message out in front of as many people without reinventing the wheel, without creating a whole bunch of new content, but rather repurposing, because you are definitely the queen of that in taking one piece of content
Well, we
and
both do
turning
that.
turning it into 20 different pieces of content and getting the most mileage out of it. So where would you suggest that they start?
Hmm. So where should they start figuring out what content to share or how to
Yeah,
reach people? Okay.
what content to share, and then how to
Okay.
share that same piece of content
Hmm.
across all of their social channels.
So for a small business, one thing to consider is that you don't want to constantly do sales pitches, which I think is hard as small business owners. They feel like if I'm on social media, I should definitely just be selling all the time. And you and I know that's definitely not true. So when you're sharing on social media, you want to share things that will be helpful, that will be interesting to people, and just plain entertaining. People just kind of want sometimes a little break from their day. So if you were the frozen yogurt shop and you were going to share things on social media, you could actually connect with like the different crazy days of the week, the days that come out, like, I don't know, pumpkin spice latte day. We'll just make one up,
That's
and
a
then
good
you just
day.
it's a good, I would like that day. So I'm just saying, like, you can connect with, bigger things. It might not be about yourself, but you could bring in different flavors. It was just National Chocolate Day recently too, so they could do like a little, stop by for your favorite, chocolate frozen yogurt. So you can connect with a bigger picture as a small business with holiday posts, with, things that are going on. So those are kind of like the basics of your social
Yeah,
media, and then you can add in obviously some of your products and specials and things that are going on, because people do like a deal. Like you said, people like to feel like they're getting, who doesn't want like a coupon if you're standing right there.
yeah.
So don't be afraid to do that. Just don't do it too much like on your social posts, but definitely do it. And how, I forgot the last part of the question. I was like talking and I forgot.
Well, it was kind of a two-parter, and then, how can you take that one piece of content and share
Yes.
it across all of your social
Okay.
networks without
Okay.
recreating?
Right. So definitely in this case, you want to like learn the language of the different social medias platforms. So think of, if you have one piece of content, like how can you share that at Instagram? So that could be a little teeny video or it could be a graphic, and then maybe reinvent that a little bit differently for Facebook. You can share the same thing over directly, as we already talked about. But one thing that I like to keep in mind is that you want to give people a reason to follow you on Instagram and to follow you on Facebook. So you don't want to make your accounts duplicates of each other, because then people might not want to follow you everywhere if they're seeing the same exact thing everywhere. So you can spread things out a little bit with time, and then maybe just reinvent them slightly for each different platform. Maybe if you are a small business that has some kind of thought leadership and you have a blog, you can, of course, share your blog content, and you can share that as a link to the post. You can share a quote graphic from your post. You could share a question from your post. One of my Facebook pages, the most popular things are "Did you know?" and it's about our products actually. And those are the ones that people like the best. Like, did you know that this product could do this? So you're sharing ideas, information. So look at one piece of content and then think how you can answer different questions about it. What could be a little snapshot of it for Instagram? Can you have you as a small business owner, can you make a short little video saying, wow, I did this person's hair today and she has really curly hair, so these are the products I use. And doesn't her hair look amazing? Like, those are the kind of things that I would do. You know, like, take the different pieces and then just look at each one a little bit different way for each different social platform that you're going to post on. Or you could even take the same post and break it up into different ways just for Facebook. So it's kind of thinking outside of the post and just looking at your own content or the content that you're going to share in a bunch of different ways instead of just one. Because finding great content and creating great content can be really time consuming. As you and I both know, it is time consuming. Like, finding something really interesting to share, even that takes a long time. So think of a unique, interesting way to share it, and then kind of spin it back so it reflects your business and your brand when you share it. It's really easy to go into Canva for work and create a really cool brand, and then just, you know, keep your brand consistent with colors and your logo and all those things. So maybe you use a designer for your bigger whole social media package, and then ask them, can you make me some Canva templates so I can share blog posts or quotes or things like that? So they would stay with your same big brand design, but then you could take these little pieces and sprinkle it out when you have your own content. That's a way that small businesses can scale the great design work. So it really makes all of their stuff look great.
Well, and there's so many great ideas in there about how to position your content differently. And I think too often it could be for a couple of different reasons. You know, we're all moving so fast that you just want to throw your, you know, title on there from your latest blog post, or, you know, whatever campaign it is, whatever offer it is, rather than trying to get a little bit more creative and doing, I love that, did you know? Any business could swipe that idea and, you know, give cool little tidbits about, did you know that, you know, back in, you know, whatever year when you started, it was just 2 of us instead of the 15 of us today. You know, just stuff that I think gives people a behind-the-scenes look into your business, allows them to better relate to who you are, better understand maybe your methodology, your thought process. So just so many different ways that you can repurpose that content and not feel as if because you've written so much about keeping, feeding the content monster, and not feeling as if you have to run to do that every single day. Yeah.
And that's honestly where Post Planner comes in too. You need to find a way so you can sprinkle your content out to work in the little chunks of time that you have. So as a small business owner, if you only have a little chunk of time, you need to figure out a way where you can maximize that. So if you used Post Planner for Twitter and Facebook, you could use an app called Latergram for Instagram, and I love Tailwind for Pinterest. But like I said, I don't know how you feel about that, but I think Pinterest is just a stretch for small businesses. I don't think it's the biggest. Depending on what your business is, I think that one would not be the best place for. And it's probably one of the only instances that I would say that. Honestly,
I would agree with you. Yeah, I think for small businesses these days, Facebook and Instagram, huge.
Unless you have a blog,
could definitely be.
If you have a blog, then I would share those on Pinterest.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I would say, like, for small business local sales, I don't think Pinterest is. I think Instagram is definitely the place.
Yeah, I would completely agree with you, and I think it goes back to your point, certainly, of know your audience, know your target market, know where they choose to interact with your business, consume their information, and let's face it, Facebook is still the big boy on the block. That's where most people are still feeling, very comfortable. But again, if your audience is, 18-year-olds as opposed to maybe 35 or 50-year-olds, it could be a very different conversation that you're having dependent on the social network where they're spending their time. So I think that's a really important aspect of this, that people don't give themselves the time to really figure that out.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's important. So the two things, sorry, the two things first is, you're going to create your brand, and then you're going to figure out who your target audience is, and then which social platforms that target audience is on. And there you go. And really, you do not have to be on all of them. Definitely start with one and work it out and learn the language, figure out what people like. It's hard. Rebecca and I work on all these different platforms because this is our job. This is our job to know how they work. But for small businesses owners and everybody who isn't necessarily a social media professional, but there's someone who wants to use social media for their business, focus on the ones that are best for you. We didn't even mention LinkedIn yet, but LinkedIn can be fantastic for small businesses depending on what you do. It's really the place where professionals are. It's not just for people looking for a job. It's a great place to get your thought leadership out there as a small business owner. It's kind of like an international Rotary Club.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah. And it's funny, that is still probably the number one question I get from just about anybody I talk to, which is, why in the world would I use LinkedIn? I can't figure out how it fits into my business. So I think that's a great explanation. And to me, it's just that place that everybody should go and at least create a presence there.
Yes, definitely. Definitely, because people are researching other people on LinkedIn. It's you have to have that online business card. That's what it is. You're not looking for a job, you're building your professional network, which is very important for everybody.
Yeah.
Whether it's somebody who's going to, work with clients, or if it's somebody who maybe they're going to refer people to you. Maybe people will refer you for an interview and see you, and you were recently referred to by someone else to be on CBS, to be a social media expert. I would be willing to bet they checked your LinkedIn account to see what you did.
Oh, I'm certain they did their due diligence and checked LinkedIn, everywhere else, just to know what my background was and that I actually knew what I was talking about.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying, and that's where people look. Sure, they might look on your Twitter account to see how many followers you are, but there's only 160 characters about you there.
Right.
I mean, there's obviously all the content and how many people follow you. There's other social signals, but LinkedIn is the place where brands and professionals check to see more about you.
Absolutely.
So it's essential just to set it up. I do recommend that people share updates there every once in a while, but if you don't, just at least have a really good professional setup there with keywords so people could find you. So it's
excellent
a
point.
good one.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk about, you touched on tools just a little bit, but you are also queen of strategy and pulling everything together so that it doesn't feel terribly overwhelming to try to manage all of this. So let's talk a little bit about, maybe bring it from a high level down. What does a daily strategy look like for a small business? How much time should they be spending? And then we can talk about some of the tools.
Okay. So as a small business owner, I would dedicate one chunk where I could work on content for the whole week and spread it out. Because what I found is that and I like to do mine on Sunday. You could do it on Monday morning, but you're already kind of behind the 8 ball. If you wanted to do it Friday, you could do it Friday. But I do mine on Sunday. You can get your whole week set up so you're finding content, scheduling it out, using a tool, and when you do that, that gives you the time during the week to go in and respond to comments, and you do have to check to make sure things posted properly no matter what you use, even if you post it natively right into whatever service it is. But what I do is I give myself a chunk of time. So a small business owner does a big chunk for the week, and then every day you're checking in. If it's Instagram, you're posting something new, but then you're there a little bit for talking. So it's doing the little bit of scheduling work, I feel, as a chunk gives me more time to be better every day. So I do also, you want to check the trends and see what's going on. So you're not like posting in this vacuum bubble about only things that were out there on that day. you want to check what's trending if it's, you know, something that is relative to your small business that maybe you want to share. So then you can share current things that day as well as the content that's like we need to find a name for like, not really, it's kind of evergreen content, but you know, like your foundational content.
Yeah.
Like you have your foundation of like social media, whatever your content is, and then you're boosting it with the trendy whatever day or activities are going on. My dog just busted. If you see my dog, he's joining our hangout now.
Yeah, yeah, mine does the same thing. I hear him keep going around.
Yeah. So that's what I recommend is like one chunk. Give yourself a chunk to plan some things out, and then you every day you're going to go on. You know, I always tell people 15 minutes a day. Like give yourself 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes at the end of the day. If you're just getting started, you know, you can have your notifications on so people can you can get an email when you get a tweet or a post. Eventually, hopefully, you'll be so busy that you can't handle all those, and that's too much. Like, I don't have those on. I know you don't have yours on either.
No.
But when you're just getting started, it can be awesome.
Yeah.
So, and you won't miss things right away. So if you can't be online all day, you can set it up so the notifications let you know if you have something important.
Yeah.
And those are the things that I would recommend to keep your time in check, you know, so you're not overwhelmed. You definitely have to avoid just going on and wasting time because, as we know, kitten videos are very popular on the internet. So make sure you're focused when you're there. It's great to have other time when you can just, you know, look around and see what's going on, and that's fun too. But, you know, do a couple focus times for, you know, posting your content, responding to questions and comments, and it takes less time when you do it that way than if you're just like, oh, I don't have anything planned. I haven't posted anything on Facebook in like a week and a half. I better go. Then it's stressful. Then you can't find good content. It doesn't come off planned, and you're not really thinking about what your message is. So give yourself a little chunk of time to work on it, and then do it. Sometimes with small businesses, you may have somebody that works for you that may love doing these things. So if there's someone else on your team that you can work with without having to hire an outside person, somebody who also knows all the ins and outs of your business, then that's awesome. A store here, we have, I don't know if you have Maurice's. Do you have Maurice's?
No.
It's a chain, but it's a little, it's a women's clothing store, and there's some girls that work in the store, and they have a little Instagram account, and they post cute stuff. They're like, this is the outfit we put together today. Like, it's just, you know, girls that are working in the store, but what a great idea.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
totally. Locally, they tag it with the hashtags, and they geotag it. So that's, you know, that's utilizing their staff who maybe at that moment isn't busy.
Right, and enthusiastic about maybe trying new stuff on, being able to show, you know, what they just got in, what they're putting on the shelves. So yeah, what a great way to, like you said, utilize the people you have there.
Right.
Get them involved, get them feeling as if, you know, they're a part of what's going on. And it takes a little pressure off of you, too, as the business owner. Coming up with content all the time. So giving those team members, those employees, some ownership within your social media can definitely help drive those results too, because you can imagine if they're sharing that maybe, you know, on Instagram or wherever else, they're probably going to retweet it or reshare it over on their accounts too, so you get that additional exposure.
Yeah, and just, you know, think of how you could do that for your business. Frozen yogurt shop, you know, probably has a flavor of the day. Like, hello, it's Los Angeles. It's warm and sunny all the time. Like, I'm eating like that. You know, like that would definitely entice people to come in, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, most definitely.
Maybe you weren't thinking about frozen yogurt, but now you are.
Yeah, well, and they do a great job in, you know, pulling from their fans on Facebook and utilizing fan content of, you know, the latest creation that they just made. And yeah, I look at that shows up in my feed. I'm like, okay, like yesterday, crazy warm here. I shared with you, it was 87 degrees, which is just insane even for us in February. So, but that shows up for me in my feed, and I'm like, I'm going to get yogurt.
Right.
Yeah. so it's keeping you relevant and top of mind too
Yep.
with your audience, because I'm not always thinking about, I should be getting yogurt, but I'm not. You know, so you've got to think from an audience perspective of what can I share with them right this second that is going to make a difference in that decision that they make. Is, you know, maybe it's between me and my competition, and what is it that I can create that is going to position my business in a very different way. And going back to your other idea of kind of giving them that did you know behind the scenes, you could do the same exact thing no matter your product or service to create that differentiation. As you know, you're showing people, here's what we do really different every single day, and here's how it will help you. Here's how it'll make your life better or easier. However you want to use that. But yeah, those are such great ideas that I think no matter where you're located, no matter what you do, you can find a way to use those.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we'll wrap up because we've got a bunch of questions for you.
Okay. Awesome.
But just in closing, we started out with, maybe we'll recap just a little bit, you know, talking about building a credible business, and then taking that and starting to really go deeper and attract potential clients, be able to attract the exact right audience. And then you talked a little bit about LinkedIn and building, building relationships with like-minded business professionals, but really giving people a way to see your history, to know who you are, to know what you've done. And then creating a presence across multiple social channels, but diversifying, but also making it easy on yourself in how you manage that. And so, as we wrap up, maybe share with us. You talked about. I think you've talked about Canva, you've talked about Tailwind, you've talked about Post Planner, Sprout Social, which I know we both love. Any other tools that you use on a daily basis that make your life infinitely easier?
I love Evernote and Trello. Trello is amazing. I have to say, like in the past year, it's probably the thing that's made my work life easier. And the reason I love it is because you can just organize everything. You can set up little checklists. You can set up just any way to organize. I use it for social media to organize my content. So I'll have, like a page for my social media things. If I come up with ideas, or say you're on Facebook and you see somebody's post that you want to share, but Facebook doesn't give you the opportunity to schedule that. You have to share it right then, or you forget about it. So you could, for example, cut and paste the link to that and put it into a Trello post and write, share this, and you could put a little date on there, and then you could find that later to share it. I also use it to just, if I create a whole bunch of images for social media, I put them in and I write all the text. So I create the little social media post kind of in Trello, and then I just save it, and then when I want to use it, there it is.
Nice.
I use it for blog post ideas, but for small business owners, there's a zillion different ways you can use Trello. They have a free version, which is awesome. They also have a little pro version that gives you extra features, but you don't have to get those. You could probably use the free version. You can work with your team in Trello. You can add people to your boards. People can share the information. There's just so many ways to organize, and like being organized is the key to everything in life. Let's face it, right?
Isn't it? Yes. Well, it's the difference between being productive and busy.
Right.
When you're organized, you can be productive. Yeah.
Right.
Huge difference.
So,
and I see that Jeff C. just said that the team at Social Media Examiner uses Trello for everything.
Yeah. As a small business owner, you could put everything in there with, checklists, due dates, trust me, it's magic. Trello, I love Trello, and it helps everything that I do be better. Whether it's presentations that I need to work on, you can save all your resources. There's so many ways to use it.
Yeah.
So that's one that I like,
awesome.
and I love it because it's on my phone, my iPad, and desktop, and everything syncs up. So I don't have to send stuff to myself all the time. I can just pick up the next device and work from there. So it just makes your life easy.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about, is just simplifying everything that you do so that you aren't doing it, 3, 4, 5 times. You're just doing it once. And as I said, you've got it across all of your devices, so it's just easy to pick up and run.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I use it so much.
Well, I cannot thank you enough. Anytime I get to hang out with you, it's totally awesome.
I'm always actually surprised we stay on track, that we don't start.
I know. Well, and I thought about it at the beginning. I'm like, literally, we could probably talk for 2-3 hours here about this topic. So we have to stay on track and focus.
Yeah, we did. You did an awesome job keeping us on track.
I know, yay! And I, first of all, wanted to thank you and just let everybody know that you can connect with Peg. I know Leanne just shared your post that we were talking about today here, and your blog at pegfitzpatrick.com, and then we can find you pretty much everywhere at Peg Fitzpatrick, right?
Yes.
Yeah, awesome.
My name is everywhere. Yep. My name meaning Peg Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's jump into a few questions, if you're okay with that, before we wrap up. So Dave says, you mentioned cover images. Do you advocate changing them up regularly for things like holidays?
I absolutely do. The key to that is to make sure that every time you update it, that you click on the photo and in your description add some more text and links to your things, because those go into the news feed, so they're awesome. My cover photo changes always get great interaction on every single page that I manage, so I definitely recommend it. I have to say on mine, I need to do my own personal one because I haven't changed mine. I like it. I like mine a lot, so I haven't done any holiday things, but I definitely do recommend that. You can still stay on brand and on target, with your logo and your colors, but, seasons, holidays, special events, you can use it for, like if Rebecca and I were going to have this, we could change our cover photo to say that we were, having this hangout, that you could click on the link. So it's a great promotional opportunity, and I think it keeps your Facebook page fresh. So if people do go there, it looks like something new and exciting is happening.
That's a great point too, is keeping it really, really fresh, so that as people are going there, they're not feeling as if, it's the same old thing. They haven't updated their page in forever. But to your point, it's really taking advantage of that space to support anything you've got going on. It's
I just saw. Wait, I just saw Ronald ask a great question.
Yeah.
Can I answer Ronald?
Go for it. What was Ronald's question?
Ronald said, where can I get some good, cheap images? So I have an amazing website called LibreStock, Libre stock.com.
A new one.
You get amazing images, and they are all free. It searches like 40 different sites to pull up ones that you can, number one, legally use, because you have to use photos that you have permission to use. You can't just grab things from Google. Huge no-no, small businesses. You could get a huge fine for that. So LibreStock actually searches all these sites, and you get great results. It uses Pixabay. It uses Unsplash, a lot of my favorites, but I always find great images on there. So they all have a little bit different requirement for like how you have to cite the references for them. So make sure that you follow the guidelines for the websites that you get the images from. But LibreStock searches all the different sites. It's a great site.
Very cool. That's a new one I have not heard of.
I haven't talked about that. Some things I keep a little secret. When we're going to social media marketing world, as we've talked about already. But so some of my things I'm working on, like presentations for there, and you hate to share everything beforehand. You
That's
people out
right.
here, don't tell everybody, but Libra stock is amazing.
Yeah, I use Pexels,
Yeah.
which yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with that one, Pexels,
Hmm.
and it's fantastic as well.
I think it uses that site too. It's amazing. It searches
That
all the
is
best
so
sites.
cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
So it's really consolidating, and rather than jumping from site to site to site, it's doing all
Yeah.
the hard work for you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And their keyword search is awesome, so it gives great results.
Um, let's see. Andrea says, is there a price we should expect for graphic design? I don't want to choose someone too cheap with poor quality, but I have a small budget.
That's a good question. I don't really know if I can answer that. I don't know, there's such a huge price range. I would say you definitely don't want to go on Fiverr and get the cheapest thing, although I know people that have gotten good things there. I would say to look around and, figure out what your budget is and look around and ask people for references maybe. I don't have a good, do you have an idea for that,
You,
Rebecca? That's a
you
tough
know,
question.
I will tell you that I myself have had good, I have had I guess I was going to say great, but probably just good experience with Fiverr in
Yeah.
a lot of different ways. But design is a tough one there
Hmm.
because you don't really know the
Right.
quality of their work. So I think
Right.
your suggestion of getting references is excellent, and that's how
Yeah.
I've always done it. Is just reach
Yeah.
out to people, post it on Facebook, and say,
Yeah.
hey, I'm looking for somebody to create and just explain exactly what your
Mhm.
project is. What I always would recommend is do your homework. Have them, get you some examples. Be very clear in your head what you're
Yeah.
looking for, because that's where the problems usually come in. Where as the business owner, as the person that is looking to hire somebody, you're not 100% clear on what you're looking for. So there becomes
Yeah.
a huge challenge of how in the world is that designer or any designer going to produce what you're looking for.
Right.
So really sit down and think about that first so that you can clearly articulate, hey, this is my brand, this is what I'm going to be looking for. Give them some
Mhm.
examples. It's always a good
Yeah.
idea to give them maybe 3, 4, 5 examples of this is kind of the look and feel, this is kind of the font, maybe the colors that I used,
Mhm.
so that you can see whether or not your vision is aligned with their skill set, but
Mhm.
also their design skills, in that they've got the eye you need to be able to take your vision and turn it into something magical. And I've told you, Peg, that we have one designer, but two in particular on the Post Planner team. Truly brilliant. I've never seen
Mhm.
anything like it, where I can just tell them, here's exactly what I need for an infographic per se. And I just spell out everything I just talked about. Here's what I see it looking like. Here's some examples. Here's some direction, and then they just take it and run with it. And
That's awesome.
and everybody needs that person that
Yeah,
you've
that you
got
can
that,
connect with.
yeah, that rapport with. So if you do your homework up front, and I would say test them out too. Do a
Yeah.
trial. Give them
Yeah.
a couple of different projects, maybe a Facebook cover. Maybe you give them, an Instagram post. Just give them a couple of different things, a
Yeah.
variety, to see how they do.
And like you mentioned, you have a small budget. Stick within your budget. Like, come up with what you can spend and make sure that you're finding people who are in your price range, because there are designers that are really expensive, and then there are people who are more affordable. As Jeff C said, you definitely get what you pay for. So
Yeah.
go with the best you can afford, and let them know what your budget is, so you're not wasting their time either. Like, you have to be, you don't want to go with somebody who quotes really high rates and then think that it will be less for you, because that's not really how it works. But the way that the internet is now, you can find really great people on Instagram or Instagram is a great place to like look for people who do design, and then just hit them up and see what their prices are, and see if you can afford them. You know, if
Yeah.
they're too expensive, that's just a fact of life. But I'm sure you can find someone who does fit in your budget, and just do the things like Rebecca said. Look at what they've created, look for client work that they've done, ask for suggestions. But everybody has the price that they need to work for, and you will find someone for sure in the budget that you can spare. So don't be afraid to check around. And
Well,
ask for references on Facebook is a great idea.
yeah, yeah, you might as well ask those people
Hmm.
that you're connected with. And the other thing to consider too is, are you hiring this person on an hourly basis? So are they going to be ongoing?
Right.
Or is this a per project? And you're going to need to answer that question before you hire somebody, because there's a big difference in managing somebody that's working for you on an hourly basis and really
Right.
knowing where they're spending their time, as opposed to maybe one project at a time. So maybe it's a campaign of multiple different graphics that they're going to put together for you. So just again, going back to the clarity, be very clear on
Yeah.
why you're hiring this person too, and how often you're going to need them.
Yeah. I've actually found some really cool people on Etsy too. I don't know if you've ever looked for
Ah,
design stuff.
I have
Um,
not.
Yeah, there's people who do things like they have logos that they've designed, and sometimes they're maybe like not exclusive to you, but they will custom make it for your business, or there's some that will be exclusive, like then they take that design off the market. And you can also get design elements like templates for things. Like I got a media kit template
Yeah,
from,
now for that, they have really cool, really unique stuff that you're not going to
yeah,
find anywhere else.
right.
But yeah,
So
that's a great idea.
yeah, be creative in your search, and you can definitely find the designer that will fit in your budget and work with you.
Yeah, well, and of course there's places like Elance, which you can
Yeah.
find terrific people
Hmm.
over there, and it's just it's going to take a little bit of time, a little bit of
Yeah.
research on your part, but it is so well worth it.
Yeah.
As you talked about at the very beginning, it's all about giving away those things that are not directly related to you making money within your business.
Hmm.
And yeah, they're important to your brand. They're important to you having a presence on social media, but do you have any business spending, 5 hours a day learning Photoshop or something else? No, probably
Hmm.
not. Yeah, so it
Right.
definitely makes sense to find those key people that you can surround yourself with that do things much better than you do, but
Right.
also free up your time so you can go do those important things that are ultimately going to make a difference in, the bottom line of your business.
Hmm.
So anything else? Did we miss any questions? Let me go back over there real quick.
Somebody just said Elance changed its name to Upwork. I hadn't seen that.
Oh, Upwork, that's right. I did see that. Yes, so thank you very much. I know somebody had asked what that website was, but it looks like we got that posted again. Is
Yep.
it
Yep.
librastock.com?
Yes.
And then Eva asked, and this will be our last one, any great resources for awesome fonts?
I find really awesome free ones on Pinterest all the time. Like I love to pin like fonts like for different kinds of things. So definitely you can only use the free ones unless you buy them. I have purchased one from Etsy, actually my little brand one that I love, that I use. That one I did purchase. So, but I found it actually through Pinterest. You can find great stuff through font searches
Ah,
on Pinterest. Where do
wow.
you find yours?
You know what? I'm with you. Pinterest is probably my number one go-to, because I like to research and see what other people are using,
Hmm.
and maybe what are some newer fonts, something that's just been released. People are always creating some of the coolest fonts.
Hmm.
But I think to that point too, you have to be very careful that you're sticking with very similar fonts, fonts
Hmm.
that are on brand for your company and fonts that are easy to read,
Hmm.
that you're not making it difficult for people to identify your content right off the bat.
Yeah.
You use the same font all the time, so no matter
Hmm.
what, I know it's your content. And that's definitely another tip I think that you could pass along to people just as they're looking at your content, that you are so consistent, you know,
So
in
are you.
everything that you do.
So yeah, it's a matter of just, finding your brand, and whether that's working with someone or spending years developing it, like Rebecca and I did. Then once
Yep.
we found the ones we liked, we stuck with it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Well, all right. So we ran a little late. Apologize to everybody, but wanted to make sure we got to everybody's questions. And thank you again so much for being here. Truly
Thanks for having
appreciate
me.
it. Yeah, no, it was awesome being able to hang out with you for an hour. And to everybody that was here and anybody that's watching the replay, we would love to see you over in the Post Planner community. And Leanne should have shared that coupon for today as being here, what our offer is. If you would love to give us a try, test out Post Planner, see how much easier it can make your life when you're finding, when you're planning, when you're posting, all of that awesome social media content that we've been talking about here today. And then don't forget, we've got another training coming up. Next week, we've got blabs that we do every single Thursday. So we've got one of those tomorrow, and we need to get you on one of those.
Wait, and you have a Twitter chat?
Yes, we have our Twitter chat tomorrow night, too. Thursdays are a busy day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got viral chat, we've got the blab tomorrow, and then we've got these trainings every Wednesday, same time. So make sure to get yourself signed up for that next one. So until, I guess, tomorrow, until we see you live again. All right, thank you again. Appreciate you being here, Peg.
Thanks. Bye.
All right, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.